comes as Qatar confirms this morning that Hamas and Israel have agreed on a humanitarian pause in Gaza after weeks of negotiations mediated alongside US and Egypt.
Hello, stranger friends. I'm currently in Bangkok, Thailand, organizing a program for the ASEAN People Centrum. While waiting for the event to begin, grateful to hear that there's finally a humanitarian pause in Gaza. This humanitarian pause will start today and last for the next 4 days. So I will discuss this, but first let me address a question that have come in, particularly about the difference between humanitarian pause and ceasefire. Let's try to analogize ceasefire and humanitarian pause as if we're listening to a song on Spotify. When we talk about a ceasefire, it's like pressing the stop button on our Spotify app. Typically, we press stop because we are tired of the song or we have to stop listening to Spotify as we enter a class, a building, a meeting, and so on. If we want to listen again, we'll start the song from the beginning or we choose a new album or new songs. On the other hand, a humanitarian pause is like pressing on the pause button, and then we press it because we still want to listen to the song. Then we pause it briefly just to get a coffee or snack. So the key words here, both in humanitarian pause and in ceasefire, is temporary. Temporary to stop the fight. The difference is that a humanitarian pause is done with the assumption that the conflicting parties will continue their battle eventually. Meanwhile, ceasefire is usually agreed upon as the beginning of a new permanent peace or a long-term agreement. Each party involved in the conflict is ready to start talking, engaging in diplomacy as a path to achieving lasting peace. In a ceasefire, details like duration of the ceasefire, the covered area, other terms usually agreed upon such as troops withdrawal, cessation of hostilities, political concessions, territorial agreements, steps for disarmaments, monitoring arrangements will be discussed. On the other hand, a humanitarian pause occurs not because they want peace, but because they still believe that war is the only way to achieve peace. So there's nothing about diplomacy there. In conflict, typically, humanitarian pause happen because of pressures from external parties, like the United Nations. So a humanitarian pause is genuinely a pause to allow for humanitarian aid to enter conflict areas, evacuate for civilian victims, and so on. Whether or not all process is completed once the time is up, who knows? But then usually war will resume. So it's not surprise that usually during the pause, intense conflict may happen even more. Conflicting parties usually use humanitarian pauses to regroup, resupply ammunition, replace injured soldiers with a new one, or reposition themselves against their adversaries. Therefore, we also need to observe whether in this conflict in Gaza, a worse conflict may happen after humanitarian pause. Let's hope it's not going to be the case. Let's hope violence will subside. So, there it is, my answer to the question between humanitarian pause and ceasefire. I'll discuss more about the stories behind the humanitarian pause in a different episode. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.